death. It is only a transition to a different sphere of consciousness. Carol Ann is not like those she's with. She is a living presence in their spiritual earthbound plane.
Hello and welcome to the Talking to the Dead podcast. Ever since I was a little boy, I have been talking to dead people. When I was a baby, I remember people walking around my crib at night. They were just shadows in the darkness. I didn't know what they were, and I probably was quite frightened. I remember once I saw a burning head appear in my bedroom wall. It was radiating fire and gold, and it was repeating over and over again, dichter, dichter. And I had absolutely no idea what that meant. I was crying and I was frightened, and eventually my mother burst in through the door and she could see how real it seemed to me. It was only many years later that I realized that dichter was the German for poet, but I have still to this day no idea why those words were being repeated back at me. I spent probably most of my youth up until my teenage years pretty much denying what I was feeling and hearing and the things that I was seeing. I think my mother put a lot of effort into trying to get me to understand that I wasn't unusual or strange. She herself had psychic encounters when she was small. It probably wasn't until I was at school that I began to read more and more about this stuff and got interested in all sorts of things, such as reading Dennis Wheatley romance novels like The Devil Rides Out, and eventually, in my 20s, moving towards spiritualism. But I had tried various things such as psychometry, channeling, astral projection, just general psychic things. It all seemed very normal and natural to me, but I found that as I was growing up, talking about this with people put me at a slight disadvantage because I think they just thought I was strange. It wasn't something that you really felt you could talk about and expect people to take you seriously. My relationships were somewhat affected by it, and I do remember very well a good friend of mine saying to me, "Philip, stop talking about this stuff. People will think you're mad." So I did. I put it in the back of my mind, but I was always interested. It really wasn't until the pandemic of COVID-19 that I had more time in my hands and I started reading more about psychic things. I made a very good friend, Lisa, and we spent a lot of time talking about psychic things, sitting around, having drinks, and just trying to be happy during this terrible COVID time. We both agreed that the COVID time was probably a message that things were going to be changing. Life would change. The way people saw relationships would change. People's relationship with the afterlife would change. And we hoped that maybe we were ushering a new period, a new life. It didn't seem to happen. But I still remember something that changed me immediately, and that was listening to Hans Zimmer's score from the film Interstellar. And the particular track was called Stay. I'll just play you a little bit of it. The track was instantly very moving to me, but something very strange happened. While I was listening to it, a person started communicating to me. I couldn't believe it at first because I hadn't been involved in anything like this for so many years. But this person turned out to be a person who we would call dead, and I have to say straight away that I don't believe that there is such a thing as a dead person. They've just merely moved on. But this person made himself known to me. He was a recently passed on drummer for a very famous rock band, which I'm sure you've heard of. His name was Neil Peart, and the rock band was called Rush. And yes, you can say, wow, now this is a bit obvious because he did die at about the same time in 2020 that I heard this. But it was very, very clear to me that he was trying to communicate with me. I couldn't work out why or how, but it came into my mind. It wasn't until I had a really lucid dream a few days later that I realized what it was all about. He was trying to contact with me because he wanted me to pass on some messages. He wanted to take me on a journey, and I wasn't terribly sure what I was going to see and how I was going to record this journey for it to be any use anyway. I had these ideas with him that I would walk around him in the afterlife or something, and he would show me things. I would be able to record those down in a journal and release it. Really, that was a very strong feeling I had, and over many months, and actually now years, I had that in the back of my mind, and there were a few times that I saw him again in my sleep, but nothing was really coming of it. It wasn't until I started recording a podcast a few months ago that I really felt that I was sort of getting a voice for being able to speak. Having finished the podcast, I was wondering, what am I going to do next? And then it actually came to me last night. This is the format that I need to use. You could say that my spiritual advisor, or maybe my guardian angel or spirit guide, whatever you want to call it, had made it completely obvious to me that I need to use this format in order to communicate what people wish to say. So I'm going to try using a podcast format. And each week I'm going to invite, or somebody will just pop in, a person to come and talk with me. And I will channel their comments. I've decided to try to keep it as logical and easy as possible, and I'm going to construct 20 to 30 questions that I will use for everybody who comes through, and they hopefully will answer those questions. I'll leave it entirely up to you as to what you think of it, but I feel, even though I've never done this before, that this is something I need to do, and this is perhaps what I was supposed to do, something that a psychic medium told me in the British Spiritualist Association back in 1980, that, Philip, you need to do something because you are going to help humanity. I'm not that arrogant to think I can help humanity, but I want to do it for myself, and I hope you're interested. So please carry on and listen to episode 1.